Alex Pereira just won his second belt in his second weight class, in his second sport, knocking out Jiri Prochazka in the second round. He's now one of the greatest combat sports athletes to ever do it. And how about that overrated left hook? I know I sound stupid, guys. I was proven wrong. Let's talk about the stoppage. We're going to talk about the stare down because I honestly think that I just saw one of the coolest moments in MMA history. And in my opinion, this may sound like a stretch to some of you guys, but the stare down that we saw from Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira before their actual fight is the coolest thing I have ever seen in my entire life of being an MMA fan, okay? Let's get to the fight itself, all right? The stoppage, second round KO, the left hook lands clean. Jiri Prochazka throwing an overhand right against Alex Pereira. He was rocking Pereira a little bit in the second round. I picked Jiri to win. I was starting to get excited. I was starting to say, oh shit, the tide's turning, even though that Jiri isn't eating the leg kicks all that well. He did start to tag Pereira. But the leg kicks of Alex Pereira did slow Jiri down a little bit, and I think that that took off a little bit of the sting from his shots and made them a little bit less impactful, and he wasn't able to land a knockout blow. Alex Pereira had one of the most beautiful counters I've seen. Right hand, left hook, that was it. Jiri Prochazka goes out. That's when the controversy starts. So maybe that's not it, because now we have to talk about it. So he drops Jiri Prochazka with the left hook. And guys, I've rewatched this stoppage probably 10 times over on my live stream. And every single time I watch it, I just keep coming back to the same thought, and that is, it's a little bit early, and a part of that is the fact that it's Jiri Prochazka that's on the other end of it. Now, I totally understand this is not going to take away from Pereira's finish. It was a clean win. It was a good win from Alex. He basically finished Jiri Prochazka twice, right? He dropped him with the left hook badly, but Jiri jumps right back up. He's in it. He jumps right back up. He's in on a double leg. He's still strong. Not strong enough to get the takedown while Pereira is elbowing him in the side of his head. That rocks Jiri again. Jiri, going for the double leg, starts to collapse on himself. Pereira winds up on top of him in mount, but we're not able to see any more follow-up shots from Alex Pereira because Mark Goddard steps in, stops the fight. I've just seen Jiri battle through so many bad spots. I've seen him get up kick KO'd by Dominic Reyes. And I know he was on top of Dominic Reyes. It was different. It's not like he had got slumped back multiple times by a left hook and then by elbows. He got rocked bad by Glover. He ended up on top of Glover in the fifth round when Glover Teixeira made a mistake and pulled a guillotine. This was a little bit different. There was about a minute on the clock. Alex in mount, okay? Now, here's where it gets interesting, though. Pereira's not this nasty, dangerous grappler on the ground. He's just not. And Jiri Prochazka, say what you want. Yes, it could have been a good stoppage in a lot of people's minds. Jiri just survives through a lot of these bad positions so well. If there's anyone you want to give that chance to, all right, it's a guy that's gone to hell and back in his fights, that's had this ability to just bounce back out of nowhere, get brutally KO'd, flatlined, head falling off of his shoulders, and then he bounces back and he's back to it. If anyone could get out of it, Yuri's the kind of guy to do it. Remember, he has this holy martial arts spirit constantly revolving around him and willing him to victory. And I just wish that they allowed the fight to go on a little bit longer. I understand people are going to say, bro, what do you want? You want him to be out cold? You want him to be dead and all this stuff? No. I'm just saying, allow Alex to land a couple of more follow-up shots. Give Jiri a chance to neutralize something. People are saying his arms were going limp. They went limp for a second until he hit the ground. Jiri's one of those guys where he's out 1 second, he's up the next. Like, you never know. We need to see Jiri fight through that shit, man. And I know it might sound like wishful thinking and all that for Jiri Prochazka to buck his way up to his feet, to buck Pereira off of him in that moment, right? Pereira was in mount. But there was 54 seconds on the clock, a lot of time for Pereira to work. I would have loved to at least see him land a couple more shots, just a few more. Because as soon as he got off of Jiri, Jiri got right back up to his feet. They even zoomed up on him once. And Jiri looked absolutely fine. And because of that, it's a tiny bit anticlimactic. That being said, it's a clean win for Alex Pereira. That's all. It's a clean win for Alex Pereira. I picked Jiri Prochazka to win. I kind of wanted Jiri Prochazka to win, even though I'm a big Pereira fan as well. So I am a little bit biased in saying this stuff, okay? It's still a good win because let's just be honest. A couple more follow-up shots, the ref would have been right to step in. Maybe he saw something that we didn't. Maybe he saw Yuri's eyes rolling in the back of his head. Maybe Pereira was about to start raining down with vicious ground and pound, but we don't know. Pereira's not a guy that's all too experienced. And listen, you could talk about mount all you want. Sometimes people get mount and they fumble that shit. They fumbled a bag, just like Jilton Almeida. I'm gutted for Jiri Prochazka, man. Seeing a guy that's as invested into martial arts as Jiri lose is always going to be rough, just because, again, this is everything to him. This is his entire being. I didn't know that Pereira loves the sport. I totally get that. And Pereira's a humble guy, and you got to be happy for him. This is literally everything to Jiri, okay? He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have a bunch of kids, dude. He's just completely, his whole heart and soul is martial arts, being a champion, being a samurai. This loss is probably going to make him better, but it does really suck to think about him going back into a cabin in the woods to isolate himself for a whole week to reflect on this loss, because we know that Jiri Prochazka is just a different kind of cat. But whatever. The fight itself was legendary. The card is legendary. I'm going to do a whole card recap. I'm going to talk about Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich. This was the coolest moment I've ever witnessed in my entire life, and that was the stare down before the fight itself. I don't think I've ever been as hyped and as excited as I was watching MMA like I was watching the stare down between both of these guys. Jiri on his hands and knees, looking up at Alex, snarling at him, then getting up to his feet, looking right in his eyes. Pereira stoic, mean mugging him across the octagon. They didn't break eye contact for like 5 fucking minutes. Combine that with Jiri Prochazka's music when he walked out second. I know Pereira's got a sick legendary walkout too, where he does the freaking scream and all that. But Yuri's music, he came out like a movie villain, bro. Insane on his villain arc, like this crazy catastrophic music. And then we just see these guys staring down. It didn't even feel real. It was too good to be true. We got to cherish that. I'm probably going to rewatch that moment forever. And the fight itself is pretty good. Now, here's the thing. I'm just going to say this, and I want to know if you guys agree with it. I want to know if you guys agree with it in the comments. I cannot be the only one that thought that Jiri looked slow in this fight. Now, I get it. The low kicks, Alex Pereira, they were a big issue for Jiri Prochazka in this fight. And I knew they were going to be an issue. I thought Jiri was going to be a little bit more aggressive in this fight. But the first thing that I noticed were a couple of head kicks from Jiri Prochazka that looked very slow. And not just like, oh, they're a little bit off, like extremely slow. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was ring rust. He did not look his usual fast, explosive self. But then, despite getting hurt by a bunch of the low kicks, there was a moment, I think the first low kick that he got hit with, he got dropped as well, which is pretty interesting. Even getting hurt by all the low kicks, Jiri gets a takedown at the beginning of the first round, which was big for him. I thought it was going to be big. But he didn't end up doing much, which just proves that Alex Pereira has improved his takedown defense a little bit. Well, not necessarily his defense, but his grappling, right? I expected that if Jiri was going to get a takedown, he might be able to open up a little bit more with ground and pound. And he was looking to posture, and he landed a couple of elbows, but for the most part, he didn't do anything with the takedown in the first round. And I did score that for Alex Pereira because of the damage that he landed with the low kicks. But then in the second round, Jiri actually started landing a lot of good shots. Like, he started tagging Alex with uppercuts and 1-2s down the pipe. And there were a couple of moments in that second round where it looked like he had Pereira rocked a little bit. And I started to get excited. As I mentioned earlier on in this video, I was like, oh shit, Yuri's coming on strong. Pereira's chin isn't the same at 205. This is about to be crazy. I might get my pick right. And of course, Jiri starts marching him down, starts throwing combinations at Alex Pereira up against the fence, throws a right hand. After throwing the right hand, Pereira counters, right hook, left hook, right on the jaw. I know I made a video talking about Alex Pereira having a little bit of an overrated left hook, but it landed absolutely perfectly. All right, it was a perfectly timed shot, and this is how Pereira really proved me wrong. Okay? I thought that the pressure that Jiri Prochazka was going to bring, backing up Alex Pereira up against the fence and throwing on him was going to be an issue for Pereira. And at times, it looked like it. When Jiri Prochazka would throw combinations in the middle of the octagon, Pereira would just move back, and he got clipped a couple of times, and it looked like he almost got rocked. But it was countering that won him the fight, and I did not think that he was as good of a counter striker as he proved to be tonight. So Alex Pereira proved me wrong. Hats off to him. Amazing win from Pereira. One of the most beautiful counter combinations I've seen in a long time. A little bit of an early stoppage, but at the end of the day, man, and I don't give a fuck if Jiri Prochazka says it's not an early stoppage. Let me just address that. Jiri Prochazka saying it's an early stoppage. Jiri would always say it's an early stoppage. You have to know who you're dealing with, okay? Gon said the same thing when he lost to Francis Ngannou. He said, I think Francis won. It's a bad performance. I thought Gon won that fight, okay? Just because Jiri says it's not a bad stoppage does not necessarily mean that, okay, case closed, no more controversy, it's over. No, that's not how it works at all. You could still think it's a little bit early. Jiri Prochazka is one of the most respectful guys ever, dude. That's part of his code. That dude will literally never make an excuse. It was a tiny bit early, and he was good. I think he would have fought through it, man. But he'll never make an excuse because in his mind, that's like a little bit of a mental defeat, dude. And he's not salty at all. Clean win for Alex Pereira. I don't want to hear anyone talking about instant rematch. No. Jiri Prochazka's won 3 fights in the UFC. This was his opportunity. I get it, he was a champion. He never lost his belt, but the guy won 1 title fight against Glover Teixeira. 3 wins. He doesn't get an instant rematch. There's no way. Alex Pereira has literally done more in the UFC than Jiri Prochazka. Just because Jiri's been around a little longer, just because he's been more inactive than Alex, doesn't mean he's done more. Alex Pereira has just beat the 4th champion. That's 4 champions. Jiri, Jan Blachowicz, Sean Strickland, 1-1 without Adesanya. I think that Alex Pereira is closing in on the top 20 all time because that is an amazing resume. Now, yes, he got slumped out by Izzy, but he also beat Adesanya as well. Okay, and he also outstruck him, knocked out Jiri Prochazka, a guy in his prime, okay? I get it. Jiri looked a little bit slow, but Yuri's the young guy. Yuri's the guy that's not coming back unless he's on point, and you got to give Alex the credit for beating him while Yuri's the younger guy, 31 years old, also up a weight class. That's 2 wins in a bigger weight class. People talk about Henry Cejudo having this amazing resume, having all these great wins up a weight class. Dude, Cejudo beat Marlon Moraes, a known gasser that's never been a champion, unlike Jiri Prochazka, and he beat Dominic Cruz. Great win on paper. Cruz was an older man coming off of a multiple-year layoff that was coming off of the couch to fill in for Jose Aldo on a week's notice. That's not the same as beating Jan Blachowicz. And he's building an insanely good resume. Imagine he goes out there, defends the belt against Jamahal Hill. Again, I don't want to see Jiri Prochazka fighting for the belt next. As a fan, I'd love to see Jiri Prochazka get infinite title shots because he'd be one of the most entertaining champions ever. But he doesn't deserve it, dude. He just got laid out. He had a lot of time off. He walked right back into a title fight, and he lost. He came up short. He got knocked out by Pereira, man. And we got to talk about Jamahal Hill because he will be next in line for Alex Pereira. He's also the former champion. Right after Pereira got the finish, a camera panned over to Jamahal Hill, and this was on ESPN MMA's Instagram, and he's saying, I don't give a fuck who wins. Man, I got the crown. The crown is here. This is the real champ. Dude, I understand it. I get it. He's confident. I totally understand it. Jamahal Hill, he always strikes me as like one of the most bitter guys on the face of the earth. He's so bitter every single time I hear this dude talk, man. Now, don't get me wrong. Jamahal Hill has every right to be confident. He destroyed Glover Teixeira better than Jiri Prochazka. But people act like that wasn't a different version of Glover Teixeira, dude. It was an old, rattered, tattered down version of Glover that had taken a world of damage in the Jiri Prochazka fight that wasn't even a champ. You know what I mean? Like, Jiri Prochazka took the belt off of Glover. Jamahal Hill, he just got a belt that was in the air because Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev fought to a draw. I get it, dude. He's amazing. He had a perfect performance over Glover Teixeira. But I don't know. Jamahal Hill, he always strikes me as super bitter. That's just me. I don't know what you guys think. Maybe you disagree. But I think a lot of you guys would agree with that. He just comes off as salty as hell, bro. You know what I mean? Like, at least give these guys some credit, bro. They just had a great fight. Pereira just won the title, right? But whatever. I think Alex is going to beat him. But Alex isn't unbeatable. Because here's the thing. Jamahal Hill is coming off of a long layoff because he had the ACL injury, right? He broke his ACL, he tore his ACL. He's going to have big issues with the low kicks. If Jiri Prochazka has issues with the low kicks, Jamahal Hill is going to have some issues with the low kicks, all right? It's much easier said than done when it comes to checking those things or preparing to check them. You just cannot prepare for them, all right? And Jamahal Hill is a little bit more by the book, all right? He's like a textbook kickboxer. He'll have a cleaner fight with a guy like Alex Pereira, but his silver lining is that he's really defensively sound. Jamahal Hill has very underrated boxing defense. He doesn't get hit clean a whole lot. And although Alex Pereira is very accurate, and he's got beautiful offensive striking too, he will also miss a whole lot more on Jamahal Hill. And Jamahal Hill's another guy who's a big 205er, who's got a long reach, that has nasty power in his hands that could make Alex Pereira pay. He called out Izzy. There's no fucking way Izzy's going to come back to face Alex Pereira. I don't see that happening, man. You think Izzy, who just basically quit mentally against Sean Strickland, and I'm not talking about even in the fight, but Izzy looked like a broken man after the first round anyway, just because Strickland was so hard to hit and that broke him mentally. But Izzy's taken a long layoff for a reason. He's not in this anymore mentally. He's got one foot out the door. He ain't hungry anymore. Adesanya just posted on Twitter, haha, I got the win that counts. Posted a video or a picture of Alex Pereira slumped out cold on the canvas saying, listen, man, I'm sleeping just fine. I don't need to fight you again. I'm content. Okay, you're content. There ain't no fucking way he's fighting Alex Pereira. He ain't hungry. Pereira's hungry, all right? He's only had 6 fights in the UFC, which is crazy to think about. Now that he's one of the biggest stars in the game, multiple division combat sports champion, which is 2 divisions in Glory Kickboxing, 6 title wins in Glory Kickboxing over 2 divisions, okay? And now 2 divisions in MMA. This dude is a better combat sports athlete than Henry Cejudo, in my opinion. He just is. He's got better title wins than Henry Cejudo. I got to give credit to Alex Pereira. He proved me wrong in this fight. The coolest moment I've ever seen in my entire life was the stare down. I'm going to watch that again tomorrow. But I got to do my other recap videos. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.
What is up, guys? It's Lucas Tracy MMA here, and I want to let you guys know that I have something for you, and that's a real food cookbook. Because if you're walking around looking like Chris Dawkins, you got to get that weight off. I don't know if you think you're DC or something, but most people usually don't perform at their best when they're walking around with 30% body fat. So if you're trying to lean out and you still want to eat good, tasty comfort foods, well, you could check out my Real Food Cookbook, because I've made it a purpose to have good, tasty foods that you can still eat just without all the processed bullshit, without all the processed ingredients like soy and seed oils. So guys, check out the Real Food Cookbook. Use code MMA for 30% off. The link is in my description. Don't forget that discount.